I'd just like to start by saying welcome to Bodhi Arts. Bodhi Arts is a gallery which is based in Berlin. It's a new gallery in Berlin, just behind the Hammergabahnhof. Bodhi Art is a gallery which has established itself in 5 spaces in different cities, 3 of them in Asia, 1 in Europe, in Berlin, and 1 in New York. The exhibitions which are set up by Bodhi Arts are ones which have predominantly been from India, because the gallery started in India and also in Singapore. Spaces in India are in Mumbai and in Delhi. Now, there's been a lot of reaction to Indian arts recently. And that's been because Indian arts has been around for a long time, actually, since the 1960s. There were artists including M.F. Hussain, F.N. Souza, who were showing in London and New York with their counterparts, including Richard Hamilton. But recently, the contemporary Indian art scene has been absolutely brilliant. A lot of stimulation, a lot of different scales, and a lot of depth to the work. And many people are saying, after China, India is going to be the next scene. And of course, Bodhi Arts, as one of the predominant galleries in India, was very interested in highlighting the work that comes out of India. The program as such has been something to do with how Indian art, to a large extent contemporary Indian artists, interact with artists from Europe and from North America. So 25% of the exhibitions which will be in Bodhi Arts throughout will be shows which are looking at contemporary developments, using aesthetic developments, using materials, using context to drive the shows. It's just not about Indian art. That's its expertise. What it will do is to develop an internationalism, which is what we've been fighting for a long time. Now, the notion of internationalism is something which I have been also looking at as a curator and prior to that as an artist. I was born in Tanzania in East Africa, of Indian origin. Then I went at the age of 11 to Britain. And there I studied fine arts. And then I started Central St. Martin's College of Art and at the University of Westminster, as well as exhibiting my work predominantly in Britain, but also in North America. But at the same time, what I felt was there wasn't enough knowledge about both the notion of artists who came out of a non-European background. Artists from Africa, artists from Asia, artists from Latin America. So I started not only teaching, but also curating. In that way, I've started researching artists from all of these different countries, from Brazil to Cuba to China, Japan, India, Thailand. And in that sense, for the last 5 years, I've been working at the Haus der Kulturen der Welt in Berlin as the head of exhibition, film and new media. And there I put up 12 very large-scale exhibitions and film programs that have looked at subject matter such as what are Iranian artists doing today? What is happening in notion of modernity from Brazil with the show Tropicalia, which was curated by Carlos Basueldo. So last 5 years I've really concentrated on getting exhibition organized in a way that people have an understanding of other cultures. Without that, we have really big problems around notions of being neighbors. Art plays a very important role today, in today's society, of how we mediate and know and get to know each other, our traditions, but also our contemporary positions, as well as our identities. Because identities are not fixed, they change and they mutate. And the exhibitions, in a sense, help us to understand individual artists' ideas of the world. And through that, we might get an idea of what a country is like, what a situation is like, what urbanization is about, what is globalization. Globalization is just not a massive thing, it actually affects individuals and affects them differently as they come in contact with it. Whether it's through labor, whether it's through housing, whether it's through culture. And in that sense, what I've been doing as a curator is to try to put exhibitions together that puts all of these things in the forefront. This current exhibition at BodhiBerlin is about the notion of accelerated development. This is something we've got to know about in China. China, everybody's talked about how the hutongs, the small houses, have been demolished to make high-rises. This is such a situation which is not only particular to Beijing, it's also happening in Singapore, it's also happening in Mumbai, it's also happening now in Ho Chi Minh City. Asia is going through this amazing development. There's so much going on at the moment in Asia that it's not only an economic, but it's also a cultural force. So for us here now in this show, which is called Frontlines, and Frontlines is an interesting title because it talks about the idea that we're getting somewhere, and that getting somewhere doesn't necessarily mean it's easy. Nor is it easy for the people, nor is it easy for the city. So much is being demolished, so much is being replaced. In that replacement, we're losing so much, but we're also gaining something. And in that interaction at that front line, it's a bit like the front line is also usually used for war. Is this a cultural war? Is this urbanization something which we cannot understand? Is it paced quicker than our human positions? So these are some of the concerns I have in this exhibition, and that's why I've curated in this manner. I deliberately used artists to using very different materials: copper wire, cement, carved wood, epoxy resin, steel, to talk about these are the materials which are used for building and construction. And artists are using that to make statements about their realities. And in that sense, the use of materials is also the forefront of also how we understand a subject matter and a position. So in that sense, BodhiBerlin is always going to be about looking at subject matter, how to curate from that, how to use artists to be able to evaluate the human condition. Whether the artists come from India, or they come from Thailand, whether they come from Germany, or from the United States. I'm interested in artists for what they are, not necessarily ethnicities.